short video, I will be talking about the version 2.6 debut character Kamisato Ayato and his weapon options potential, coming up. So we already just got released the card officially from the Genshin Impact Twitter account for the Haran Gepaku Futsu, which obviously we won't have yet, but I will talk about it. And in addition, I will be talking about his other viable options. So let's get to it. So on the screen, we're just going to have Xingqiu here as a substitute as the 4-star Hydro version of basically Ayato. So we're just going to actually go into the weapons menu here, and we're going to just go through the swords options that are currently available, and then we'll just go through it. But first, what we will do is actually talk about the card for Haran, okay? So for Haran, let me just bring it up here myself. So it is hang on, it's just loading. Okay, it is a crit rate focused weapon, substat 33.1% at level 90, and base attack is 608, which is pretty standard, but it's good that it's crit rate, okay? So clearly they're trying to make him, that's basically Hoyoverse or MiHoYo, Hoyoverse, giving us that sign that he's going to be a sub DPS or DPS character and can be used that way because they're focusing on the crit stats for his signature weapon. So, on the card, it says obtain 12% all elemental damage bonus, and when other nearby party members use elemental skills, the character equipping this weapon will gain 1 wave spike stack, maximum 2 stacks. This effect can be triggered once every 0.3 seconds. So that basically means he can get basically maximum 24% all elemental damage once any other party member uses elemental skills. So essentially 2 party members would have to use 2 skills, right? And then when the character equipping this weapon uses an elemental skill himself, then all the stacks of the wave spike will be consumed to gain a rippling upheaval, okay, and each stack of wave spike consumed will increase his normal attack damage by 20% for 8 seconds. So each stack equals 20%, so then he can get a maximum of 40% normal attack damage bonus for 8 seconds. So that's pretty cool, right? So that's good to know, okay? So obviously that's going to be his best in slot weapon, okay? So this hands down is specifically designed for him. It looks gorgeous. It has that Hydro kind of feel, but definitely it's a katana, and it looks very royal and elegant and regal. So it definitely suits his, well, of course, aesthetic, and that's the whole point, right? Now, that weapon, we'll talk about that more when we go into the weapon banner video, which I will be talking about after this. And so this purpose of this video is really just to see what other options there are for him. So I know that we can start with the 5 stars, okay? So Miss Splitter is likely going to be the second phase weapon banner because Ayaka, his sister, who was already released, will be rerunning in the second phase of patch 2.6. So this is also going to be an awesome weapon for him. It has a crit damage. I'm not going to read the description, of course, but it has a crit damage subset, as you can see on the screen. It's amazing. The only thing with this one is it requires infusion to get the maximum 3 stacks. It requires infusion with the normal attacks, okay? So Ayaka can do that once she turns into ice for her dash and then comes back up. C6 Kazuha can infuse with Animo, and of course Kaching can infuse when she does her Stiletto Blink. Right, so there's only a very few characters that can get the maximum stacks for this, but regardless, this is a really great stat stick, Miss Splitter. So this is going to be an awesome weapon for Ayato if you have an extra one lying around from before that maybe you didn't get Ayaka, but you got the weapon. I don't know. Then you can skip maybe Haran to give him this, unless you're going for Ayaka as well, right? So this is going to be an awesome weapon for him, hands down. Okay, but as another option, the other one that was really good for him, which I heard speculation-wise or from people insider, they were saying that they nerfed or they actually redid the Haran's passive, right, at one point in beta, and they make changes, which they always make changes during beta. And at one point, Primordial Jade Cutter was actually stronger than that one. And so some people were pulling on the previous weapon banner, the previous one before the current one. Right now we're doing the Raiden, Shogun, Engulfing Lightning, and Kokomi Everlasting Moonglow weapon banner. But prior to this one, it was the one with Primordial Jade Cutter on it as a rerun, and it was with the Kagura's Verity for Yai Miko. And so this would have been a good weapon too because according to what we know, Ayato actually can scale with HP. And so, of course, as you can see in the passive here, there's HP scaling. Also, this weapon is a crit rate based focused weapon as well. The base attack is lower than the Haran as well, as you can see. And the crit rate is higher for this one than the Haran, because the Haran is 33.1% only at level 90. And the base attack is 608 for the Haran. So, I mean, some trade-off there. But this is going to be an awesome weapon for him too. If you guys got this on the previous Yai Miko weapon banner, whether losing the 50/50 or intentionally trying to get this is a very universal, awesome 5-star weapon for any sword user that you're using as a DPS or sub DPS. So it doesn't have as much restrictions. It's a very straightforward passive, whereas this one is very restrictive to which characters can actually utilize it fully to its full potential. We will go through the Freedom Sword as well. So this is an elemental mastery sword, so we're just going to skip this because this is not applicable to him. I mean, you could build him that way, but he doesn't scale off of that, so there's no point. We can probably skip the energy recharge ones too because I don't believe that he has well, he probably may have energy recharge issues, just like any other Inazuma character and any of the more recent, newer 5-star characters. They've all started off with 80 points of energy requirements for their burst. So this could be something if you have an extra one lying around, but it's not going to be his best in slot, but it could be a universal placeholder, right? Especially for free to play or early game, or if you got this from a standard banner or from losing 50/50 on the weapon banner, then yeah, I can see this if you don't want to pull on the weapon banner because it is risky. I can see that. Aquila, physical damage bonus. I don't believe that's going to be his best substat to be using because it should be Hydro Infusion, so let's just move along. There are obviously, I don't obviously have all the 5-star weapons, so I will also, out of courtesy, quickly go to the archive after this, but I will do that at the end. So then this one, Cinnabar Spindle, is not meant for him as defense. Let's just skip that. Aminoma, this one I want to talk about. I'm actually planning to give this one, because currently no one's using it, I'm planning to give this one to him once I get him. I'll probably be getting him maybe later in the week, not right away, because I don't have enough wishes yet saved up, but eventually I'll have enough to get him up to past soft pity, and then I should be doing a polling video, so stay tuned for that. I'll be just giving him this right away. It should match him aesthetically. The passive is pretty universal. It's kind of like a energy recharge style kind of passive. The base attack is much lower, and then there's an attack percentage bonus, which is a universal, right? And this one is about, as you can see, the passive is about the skill and it's about the burst, right? So it's okay, right? The Festering Desire was another one that I was considering because, as you can see in the passive, it does buff the skill and the skill crit rate, which is also part of his kit, which is probably the main part of his kit that's appealing to myself at least, because I love the hack and slash gameplay style. So these two were options that I was considering, but I'm choosing this one because it's an attack substat with the energy recharge like passive instead of this one being an energy recharge, although then the elemental skill damage and crit rate in the bottom is actually really appealing too. So they're both good options, so I would recommend either one of them. The Black Sword is actually basically like a 4-star version of the Haran in some ways. It does have a lower crit rate substat, but it does have that at least, and it's a lower base attack main stat. But at the very end, the passive increases damage dealt by normal and charge attacks, and as we can see, normal and charge, or normal attacks at least, are part of his part of his kit. Excuse me. So then that's why I think that the Black Sword is also a very good one, and as you can see, no one's using these 3 swords right now, so they're going to be all great options. Kaya's just holding on to this as a placeholder, but the Black Cliff is a very universal placeholder weapons. I cannot say enough about the Black Cliff weapons. I've said this time and time again. Get these weapons up to R5 if you're able to over time. No one's saying there's no rush. They'll always come back every 2 patches. Get these up there. It's on the current patch, and then for this month of the every 2 months, I mean, because every month it alternates between this one and the Royal series, and the Black Cliff is very universal. The passive is you're not gonna be able to be sustaining it, unfortunately, to get the maximum stacks all the time for every character situation. But it's a good stat stick, okay, because it has a crit damage substat and a base attack that's medium in the medium range. Okay, it's pretty good. If you're earlier in the game, Prototype Rancor, for the same reason as Aquila, this is a physical damage sword. It's not really his thing. Sacrificial Sword this is better for Xingqiu on the screen. This is his best in slot by far. I wouldn't bother recommending this to Ayato, although it is an elemental skill, but I don't think that he needs to cast it twice within like a short succession because there's no point right away. I mean, you could maybe, I don't know, like, it's possible, but I don't know that you need to, because Xingqiu can do his 2 like water like uppercut basically twice, right? Fast, so that's good, right? But then from what we saw with Ayato, he continues to do slashes in a time frame, right? So I don't know that maybe if you want to like do it twice, maybe that's okay too. The Flute, we'll talk about this because this is coming up on the weapon banner, but this one is a universal but mediocre weapon, but it is normal attack focus, but it is for earlier game players, let's just be honest. And then the Fuvonius is a very universal placeholder sword, and as you can see, the passive is about crits, so you do need to make sure you have crit stats to make sure you crit so you get the extra energy if you're having energy issues with him. Now, this being a universal weapon doesn't mean that it's a must-have, but this is a good placeholder. Lion's Roar is not suitable for him because he's not Pyro or Electro. So we'll leave it at that. And then let me just quickly bring up, like I said, I'm going to quickly bring up my archive and just see if there's any other quick weapons I want to talk about, because I noticed that in some of my other weapon discussion videos, I don't always go through every single weapon, and I want to be fair here. So I don't have all the weapons. So Summit Shaper is not for him. It's basically like the same as this, where it will have like shielding requirements to double your damage and all that stuff. It's not for him. What other one? So, I think I talked about all of them actually. There are no other swords actually. So that was the only other one then. Perfect. Okay, so then there's that. So I would say, all in all, to summarize this video, most of the 5-star options are awesome for him. Most of, okay? So Mist Splitter and Jade Cutter are good. Skyward Blade, again, is universal. And then, like, the other ones, so half, let's just say, 50% of them are good. So then Freedom Sworn, Aquila, and the Summit Shaper can be skipped. And then from the 4-star options, I think Amanoma is good. And I actually think Black Sword is probably better. So Black Sword and Amanoma are probably the top 2 4-star versions. And of course, if you don't have those for free to play, then just do Black Cliff, and that's okay too. Crit damage, that's fine, right? You know, statistic wise. And for those of you who are older players like myself, if you have a Festering Desire lying around that no one's using anymore, then yes, this is also good. And then if worst case scenario, go for Sacrificial Sword or Fuvonius Sword. Okay, and then worst case, if you're very early game and you don't have access to any of those yet, then maybe the Flute. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Please let me know what you guys think. Are you guys pulling for the Haran Gebaku Futsu? Or did you guys have any of the other 5-stars or 4-star weapons that I already talked about? Or do you have some other options and opinions that you would recommend? Please leave me the comments in the comment section below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, hit the like button, the thumbs up, and yeah, definitely I'll see you guys in the next video where I'll be talking about the weapon banner and the character banners, the next 2 videos. And do check out my previous video where I talked about pre-release analysis of Ayato. And